In 1947, Roswell introduced the world to the concept of UFOs. Since then, people have never stopped talking about strange objects that appear in the sky. In thousands of UFO sightings throughout history, we have occasionally come very close to them, from radar detection to naked-eye sighting to UFO shooting. However, the majority of the recordings rarely contain information of extreme importance. Those are the creatures who truly control UFOs, or we call them aliens. That is why the research-loving community gets excited whenever new information about aliens appears. The phenomenon could be linked to the fact that two strange creatures were recently introduced into the statute by the Mexican Congress. However, even when we do make contact with aliens, it is usually through the bodies of UFOs or strange creatures discovered. However, this does not mean there are no external cases in which we make contact with guests from outside the space who are unharmed or have even been captured alive. So, how did that special meeting occur? What do we get from that meeting? Keep your eyes on the screen. We'll know after watching the video. Thank you for watching UFO Vagina's event, Capture Alive Aliens. Do not forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Now let's talk about UFO Vagina. Early on January 13, 1996, the Brazilian government received a warning from the U.S. Air Force Command that their radar had detected an unidentified flying object northeast of São Paulo. Not long after, the UFO was confirmed to have crashed outside the city of Varginha, Minas Gerais, Brazil. Eurolina de Freitas and Eurico de Freitas, two farmers who got up early to go to work, happened to come across this image by accident. Eurolina was preparing breakfast for her family as she always did. Suddenly, something strange occurred outside. The farm's alarm clock was suddenly disturbed, and it ran around like a carnivore. Eurolina looked out the window, trying not to believe her eyes. There was a strange flying object in the air. Despite her fear, she called her husband, Eurico, and asked him to accompany her. The couple described the strange object as having the shape and size of a school bus. It floated in the air, moving slowly. Strangely, despite its size, it moved silently and without sound. It appeared to be in a collision. The white smoke continued to spread all over. A few minutes after its sighting, the UFO slowly descended into the distance. The Freitas couple weren't the only ones who witnessed the unidentified flying object. On the other side of the mountain, a university professor named Carlos de Souza witnessed the incident with great clarity. While driving on a nearby road, Carlos noticed a giant cigar flying in the direction of the road about 300 to 400 meters above the ground. The tail of the object was damaged. It appeared to be thick white and moved slowly down. However, when the object was only 100 meters from the ground, it began to fly back. It appeared to be unable to hold on beyond a certain height. The object fell freely to the ground. At the time, Carlos knew nothing about UFOs. He assumed it was some sort of plane accident. Carlos considered saving people and drove to the location where the flying object had fallen. However, the scene at the scene made him anxious. There were pieces of flying objects scattered throughout the area. When Carlos got out of the car, he noticed a strong ammonia odor. As a result, he had many broken legs. He had to wear a raincoat, but the smoke had left his eyes wet with tears. When he got closer to the flying object and looked more closely, he noticed the structure of the broken pieces, which resembled lime leaves. According to Carlos, it resembled a sheet of paper wrapped around a grilled chicken. Carlos picked up a small piece. When he picked it up, it felt extremely light and thin. He could easily wrap it into a ball. But when he let go of it, the piece instantly returned to its original form. While Carlos was thinking about what to do next, some Brazilian military trucks arrived. They quickly pushed the threat and chased Carlos away. In 1996, Carlos gave a brief interview to the media in which he described the situation. However, following the visit, he disappeared from public view for 26 years. Why is that? If this UFO accident ends in this manner, it will fade into history as if it never occurred. There are only a few vague descriptions and unidentified witnesses, but, fortunately, it is not that simple. 7 days later, on January 20, 1996, three 22-year-old girls, Liliane Silva, 16, who lives near the Macau gym in San Jose de Virginia, and Valkyria Silva, 14, had an unforgettable experience. Previously, Liliane was in the lead, followed by the other two girls. As they passed by a wall, Liliane noticed a terrifying creature lurking nearby. She fainted out of fear. Katia and Valkyria ran over and saw the same creature. They described this creature as having a brown body that appeared slender, with very large red eyes, no hair on the head. 3 bumps on the skin, no mouth, and no expression on the face. This creature's arms were extremely strong and stuck between its legs. The girls sensed that the creature looking at them shared their fear. Finally, the girls ran home and told Lucia Silva, Liliane's mother, and Valkyria about what they had seen. All 3 believed they had encountered a ghost and had been haunted for a long time. When Lucia persuaded the 3 girls to accompany her back to the wall, the strange creature disappeared, but Lucia continued to believe her. Why did she believe it? That's because she saw the creature's footprints on the ground. It had just 3 toes. 4 people, including Carlos, noticed an unpleasant odor. The girls said it smelled bad. While they were on duty, a creature darted in front of their vehicle and crossed the street. Marco immediately exited the car and dashed to the hospital without touching the creature. During the process, the creature bit Marco, and its strange nature permeated him. Marco didn't pay much attention to this at first, but he soon became uncomfortable. Marco's physical condition deteriorated over the next 2 weeks. His entire body smelled of smoke. Finally, he had to visit the hospital for treatment. Marco's doctor, Cesario Lincoln Furtado, stated that the entire medical team ran all possible tests but could not determine the cause of the disease, let alone an effective treatment plan. The doctors were certain of only one thing: Marco's immune system had completely failed. Marco was 23 years old on February 10, 1996. He was taken to the ICU for emergency treatment and later pronounced dead, normally, because the cause of Marco's disease had not been determined and his death was unusual. The hospital considered conducting additional tests. However, Marco's sister, Lamada Tavares, reported another strange movement. Marco requested that after the ICU doctor declared him dead, he be taken to the morgue and buried as soon as possible. Although the hospital report stated that Marco died of a blood and pus infection, many people remained skeptical that Marco was infected with a virus from another planet without a clear source. It sounds crazy, but Marco was clearly in contact with a strange creature without protection. Is that true? Furthermore, Marco and his accomplice were both present that day. So what happened to Eric Perez? Many people have tried for years to contact Eric to find out what happened that night, but have been unsuccessful. Until the documentary crew, contacted through various channels, discovered information about Eric. However, he not only threatened to shoot guests, but also repeatedly warned that they would face consequences if they did not stop. Although Eric provided no actual information, his reaction appeared to imply that this was not simple and should be kept hidden indefinitely. Let's go back to January 20, 1996, when Marco was abducted by aliens. Many documents show that a total of 2 aliens were captured. Marco captured one right where I mentioned. The other was apprehended by local firefighters in Virginia the morning before the girls encountered the aliens. That day, the firefighters received numerous calls from people who reported seeing dangerous animals and asked the firefighters to catch them. When the firefighters arrived on the scene, they assumed it was a massive elephant. When they arrived at the reporting site, they discovered a brown-skinned animal that had recently escaped from the oil tank. It had large, scary red eyes. After a long chase, the final rescue team caught the animal as well. According to witnesses, the firefighters claimed to have caught an animal that sounded like it was crying. A family told the filming crew about their strange experience near where the girls found the alien and Marco caught it. Just one night after the alien was apprehended, their family went out to get food and noticed a strange object in the sky. It was large and silver, but it shone a bright red. It resembled a fast-spinning disc floating in the sky for about 15 minutes, as if looking for something. And perhaps not a few people have suspected that the alien was captured by humans earlier. Perhaps it was the alien pilot on the UFO that had crashed. This UFO could very well be a group of UFOs that had collided to locate the missing pilot, but it was too late, humans had caught it first. So, what happened to the two mysterious aliens that were apprehended? Was there any involvement by the military or the hospital? What strange discoveries have UFO investigators made? The documentary's producer, James Fox, also revealed that he left out an important detail. In the next section, we'll go over the answers to these extremely mysterious questions. To summarize, we are witnessing a UFO accident that has resulted in the capture of two aliens. One of them was apprehended on January 20th, while the other was apprehended by the Mako Corps that night. To make things easier to remember, we'll call them No. 1 and Number 2. Both were transferred to different hospitals. No. 1 was transported to Humanitas Hospital, while the other was taken to a local hospital in Varginha. First, let's discuss the No. Mako captured two aliens. According to those involved, after being apprehended, the number 2 alien inhaled and did not die the following day. So, what actually happened after it was taken to the hospital in Varginha? 26 years later, Dr. X Quang Nam Sua still owns some significant shares. He did, however, request that his appearance be kept private, and his voice be processed to ensure his safety. Because the doctor stated that there were 8 to 10 soldiers guarding the hospital at the time, no one was permitted to enter. 2 other doctors and 2 nurses entered the hospital and removed a black bag from them. One nurse requested that the doctor assist in photographing X Quang, but warned him not to open the bag to look inside. After the doctor carefully took a picture in accordance with the request, the military side refused to show him the picture and said, "Thank you very much, your job is complete. We recommend that you do not share any information about what you have seen or done." This is related to the safety of the image. The doctor also stated that the creature in the black bag emitted a very strong odor, similar to a mixture of ammonia and fluid, which was completely consistent with the official statements. Even after the military left with the bag, the smell of smoke persisted in the hospital. They had to deal with it for quite a while before opening the door to serve everyone. The doctor also stated that the odor was extremely unpleasant because he could still smell it in his nose and breathe for 3 to 4 days. You may recall Mrs. Luisa Silva, whom we previously mentioned. She used to say she could smell smoke for days and needed a nose cleaner. She and this doctor are unfamiliar with each other, but they share a relatively unique description. Returning to the story of the second creature, we will learn what happened to the first creature. Surprisingly, everything appears to be far more strange. When the first creature is transported to the hospital, it is still alive but severely weakened. The military has requested that the doctor perform the surgery as soon as possible. The documentary is titled The Brazil UFO Crash, The Varginha Accident. A medical officer in the hospital informed the editor-in-chief of UFO magazine, Ajay Javat, about his strange experience. The doctor said he couldn't believe what he saw because it was an actual alien creature, while performing surgery on the alien creature. The doctor had to exercise extreme caution in the operating room. At the time, he had no idea whether the alien creature was still alive or dead. He also didn't know whether the doctors were performing a test or a treatment. He noticed the doctors were busy, and their facial expressions were similar to his, full of tension and panic. The doctor described the alien creature as being about a meter tall with shiny brown skin. Even more shocking was the fact that it had large eyes and claw-like arms. The alien creature had an unpleasant odor. The doctor was concerned that people would become ill as a result of the foul odor. After the surgery was completed, he and his teammates were kicked out, and the doctor declared the alien creature dead. In the documentary, a soldier named Military X discussed his experience on a special mission in 1996. His mission at the time was to transport military vehicles from the Tres Coracoas base to the city of Varginha. He first followed secret agents to the local hospital Varginha, then to Humanitas. He had a terrible experience in this hospital. In one of the hospital rooms, a wooden box was placed on the table. There was a brown-skinned creature who was clearly not human. The upper part of the creature was covered, but looking at its legs and feet, you could tell it was not a human, with toes resembling the letter V. This coincided with Luisa Silva's description when she confirmed that she saw the second creature's feet on the ground. After returning the wooden box to the military base, Military X was summoned to the office. A military officer looked into his eyes, wondering what he was seeing. Of course, to avoid confusion, he stated that he witnessed a man being tortured. The officer then went on to discuss Military X, stating that this secret could not be revealed or even mentioned in passing. But everything couldn't end here. When the first creature was being treated at the hospital, the documentary's producer stated in an interview that the creature used brainwave communication to converse with two medical staff members. The director did not include this segment in his documentary because they required video from the medical staff. But it was not easy. Of course, UFO enthusiasts can confirm this information by reading Dr. Rosa Calea's book, UFOs in Brazil, Real UFOs and Extraterrestrials. In the 6th chapter of the book, a medical staff named Vitak Loem informed Dr. Lo that a green swarm had appeared in the operating room. They were unaware of the swarm's origin. Everyone was concerned that it would cause poisoning. Nurses in the operating room began to knock on the door, but the soldiers outside requested that the medical staff investigate the origin of the green swarm. The staff soon realized that the swarm was coming from an extraterrestrial creature on the operating table. M approached the creature slowly, fearful of its speed. Of course, M's eyes met the creature's. His eyes were red and resembled two circles, which instantly drew M into hypnosis. A slew of incomprehensible information fell on M's head, causing him to feel pain to the point of speed. He experienced dizziness and nausea. The headache lasted almost 2 weeks. So, what did the first creature say during the conversation just now? M explained that it meant their species felt sorry for humanity. Why is that? The reason for this is that all humans possess the potential and ability to perform the same tasks as extraterrestrial species. Things that humans find unusual but are unable to accomplish. However, we have yet to realize our infinite potential. Despite having a lot of information in his head, M refused to reveal any more details. He also informed Dr. Leah that the extraterrestrial creature died within 24 hours of arriving at the Humilitas hospital. However, he believed that the death was caused by the creature's decision not to be related to humans. And, perhaps not too difficult, he realized that the medical staff's statement coincided with the statements of Dr. Kengas and Military X. So, after death, where did the extraterrestrial creature go? According to Military X and everything he knows, they went to Campinas Military Reserve Base, also known as SPCX. This is strange. Why is it so important to keep the secret when transitioning from a military base with tighter security to one with lower security? Military X stated that there was a rumor in the military that the Brazilian military had turned over UFO images and extraterrestrial codes collected for the US military. Let us use a detail from the documentary Moment of Contact as an example. The crew interviewed an air traffic controller named Jules Manuel Fernandez. He claimed that a U.S. Air Force aircraft landed in Campinas without authorization from the Brazilian government. The two helicopters then flew to Varginha, collected some items, and returned to Campinas. Then the U.S. aircraft flew away. According to Jules, the United States was the leader, with Brazil only providing support and conducting some activities on the ground. We have sufficient evidence to compare this event to the 1947 Roswell incident. First and foremost, the shock and influence of the incident itself in Brazil, as well as numerous witnesses and official statements, are not insignificant. Furthermore, the Brazilian government's efforts to conceal the truth are comparable to those of the US government in the Roswell incident. According to the procedure, the military only held one regular press conference. The press conference's content can be summarized because it was not serious. Everything was in the news. The last military, under pressure from the media and public opinion, issued a final investigation report. It was clear that the informant discovered by 3 girls was a homeless man named Mourinho who suffered from mental illness. It was raining, so Mourinho was covered in mud and sat in a corner when the 3 girls identified him as an alien. The 2 aliens were transported to that man's hospital. In fact, they were a married couple, and all the hospital did was install new equipment for them. Can you believe it? Is it necessary to close the hospital? The military also launched an investigation into the death of military police officer Marco. Marco was said to have not participated in the patrol that day and died from breast cancer on his arm. However, this does not explain the large number of military vehicles seen on the streets. Later, they clarified that this was only a training exercise at a nearby military school. The team's report clearly failed to convince those who witnessed the incident. The three girls immediately denied the explanation that this alien was simply a wanderer. They said they couldn't mistake a homeless man covered in mud for such a terrible creature. Along with the girls, UFO expert Vittorio Pagassini and many other experts conducted in-depth investigations into the matter and refuted the military's conclusions from various sources. Let's see what they discovered. After learning of the girls' contact, American psychologist John E. Mark arrived in Brazil in November 1996. He met Liliane, 16, two of the three girls, and Valkyria Silva, 14. During the conversation, Liliane and Valkyria described the entire process to Mark, including drawing detailed images of the alien they encountered. Mark eventually concluded that he believed the three girls were not lying, but rather that John E. Mark's statements were credible. Mark is a psychology professor at Harvard University who has received the Pulitzer Prize, the most prestigious award in the media and media industry. When he first began researching UFO witnesses, he suspected that they had a mental or psychological problem. However, after speaking with hundreds of witnesses, Mark discovered that these people were normal and had no issues. In other words, what these witnesses reported may be true. Following that, Mark spent a significant amount of time researching UFOs. Previously, we ran a program to introduce cases of UFO sightings in Zimbabwe, Africa. Mark also played a significant role in it. The question is, what drives such a person to lie? Despite having everything, from money to fame, why does he want to draw attention from the public by lying or not? In 1996, for example, people were skeptical of UFOs and extraterrestrials. They are also confident in the government and military. As a result, many people have not had direct experience with this and are prone to doubting witnesses who lie. Otherwise, the public will target and mock them, but why are witnesses forced to lie? Some claim that it is to gain fame and benefits. However, it is completely different. Among the three girls, Katia Xavier, 22, was pregnant when she discovered an extraterrestrial. As a result, rumors circulated that she was pregnant with an extraterrestrial child. She became intoxicated during the process, which led to the divorce. She was severely traumatized. Liliane, 16, had to leave school because she couldn't stand her classmates' intoxication. Valkyria, 14 years old, had also spent a long time away from society. Eric Lopez, Marco's father-in-law, still refuses to speak to strangers or discuss what happened that day. Carlos de Souza is the first university professor to discover the UFO incident. He went from being a respected professor to a drunken opponent after dinner. In addition, he developed a mental illness after receiving threats from officials. Many other people are the same. I am unable to list them in detail. They really wished I wasn't present that day. They don't have the right to choose. They have to witness what I do not want to see. Now, whether or not aliens existed in 1996, everyone may have a different answer. I believe that the evidence, statements, and documents are sufficient for people to consider the truth. It is clear that we have gradually accepted aliens. People have enough information to refer to, evaluate, and reflect on a strange phenomenon before passing judgment. Many similar incidents, such as Varginha and Roswell, may come to light in the future. Many passionate scholars are still studying this event. You can easily find information about it on the internet. This is a very complicated event with many interesting details, so it will not disappoint you. Due to time constraints, I'd like to end this video here. Thank you so much for your support. I'd like to say goodbye and see you in the next video. Have a lovely day.